They didn't even let him put his phone down. Matt Branisteru, standing outside a Florida courthouse in broad daylight, was shoved into handcuffs while reporters scrambled for angles, and Jasmine Pineda was nowhere to be seen. No warning, no statement, just flashing lights, sirens, and silence. This wasn't a reality TV cliffhanger. This was real, raw, and painfully public. What started as a love triangle spiraled into a legal firestorm, and at the center of it all, $3.7 million, and one woman caught between two men who both claimed to be her truth. Welcome to TLC Drama Live. I'm Sabrina, and if you haven't already, subscribe now. Because what we're about to expose, it's deeper, darker, and way messier than anything TLC ever showed you on screen. And you're not going to want to miss a second of it. Drop a comment below. Do you think Jasmine played both sides, or did both men trap her in a game she never signed up for? By the time Jasmine's name surfaced in the official police report, she had already vanished. No airport footage, no hotel sighting, not a single trace of where she went after Matt was taken into custody. But what the report did mention, a money trail, one that allegedly connected Matt to Gino's old joint account, an account Jasmine was once linked to during her K-1 visa filing. Now, people weren't asking if this was a misunderstanding. They were asking, was it all planned? The moment that arrest happened, the mood around Jasmine and Matt changed. What was once painted as a redemption arc, a second chance at love after Jasmine's collapse with Gino, now looked more like a setup gone wrong. Why would Gino, months after asking for a quiet divorce, suddenly slap a lawsuit worth nearly $4 million and name Matt as a financial threat? The timing wasn't just odd, it was surgical. And then there's the question no one wants to say out loud. Did Jasmine know? Because hours before the arrest, she deleted every trace of Matt from her Instagram. Posts wiped, comments locked, a live story promising a new chapter vanished before fans could screenshot it. And yet, that silence was louder than anything she'd ever screamed during a tell-all. Gino's side isn't staying quiet either. His legal team is claiming breach of marital contracts, misappropriation of funds, and reputational damage. 3 charges, all linked to Matt's alleged involvement. They're painting Jasmine as the middle link in what they're calling an emotional fraud operation. The words are loaded, but the documents are real. Court filings, timestamped transfers, overlapping addresses. It's messy, but it's real. Jasmine's critics say she used both men for different things. One for security, the other for affection. But her supporters see something else. They see a woman cornered, postpartum, publicly scrutinized, and now facing the fallout of a legal war she may not have fully understood. She didn't run toward freedom, she disappeared to survive. That's what her closest followers believe. But survival doesn't erase suspicion, especially when Matt's final words before the police took him were, "I did this for her." What did he do exactly? That's where things take another turn. A confidential tip to Gino's lawyers triggered an internal investigation into one of Gino's business accounts, an account that hadn't been touched in over a year. Suddenly, funds were missing, login records had shifted, and IP addresses traced back to an apartment where Jasmine and Matt once lived. This wasn't a random audit. It was a trap, and Matt walked right into it. But the real bombshell, a sealed addendum in the police file points to a third party involved, someone who allegedly moved the funds between shell accounts and crypto wallets. And guess whose name keeps coming up in redacted emails? Jasmine. Not as the sender, not as the recipient, but as a known alias flagged by bank software 3 months ago. The internet erupted. Was Jasmine a victim, a pawn, or something more dangerous? Even her past critics paused. Because if these financial ties are real, and if Jasmine knew about them before Matt's arrest, she wasn't just emotionally unavailable, she may have been preparing for the fall. And if that fall is coming, she won't be the only one dragged down with it. Because inside that sealed report is a single sentence that changed the case overnight. Suspect 2 holds prior knowledge of transfer patterns consistent with Palazzolo's disputed assets. That suspect, listed only as female, non-citizen, currently undocumented. It didn't start with court filings or sealed warrants. It started with a fight, silent at first, then explosive. When Jasmine left Gino, it wasn't in the dead of night. It was loud, messy, and on national television. Viewers saw the unraveling, but they didn't feel the aftershocks. Gino did. And what began as heartbreak twisted into obsession, not the romantic kind, but the kind that watches, waits, and documents every single transaction. At first, it looked like Gino would move on. He created a dating profile, said he was looking for someone real. But behind those forced smiles and staged selfies, something darker simmered. According to people close to him, Gino never stopped tracking Jasmine, not out of love, but out of calculation. He kept screenshots, bank statements, proof of gifts, flights, rent, and when Jasmine's new life with Matt started getting more public, so did Gino's trail of receipts. Behind the scenes, Jasmine was scared. She smiled online, posting baby pictures and late-night takeout stories with Matt, but those close to her say she was checking the peephole twice before answering the door. She knew Gino wasn't done, and when rumors of a pending fraud claim surfaced, she went from confident to cautious almost overnight. The documents were chilling. Gino accused her of marrying him for immigration benefits, then using Matt to transfer what he claimed were community assets before their divorce finalized. He pointed to timelines, photos, and apartment leases. There were even texts Gino submitted, where Jasmine allegedly asked Matt to move everything now before he locks it. Jasmine's team says those messages were fake. Gino insists they were authenticated. What added more heat was the USCIS angle. Sources say Gino filed a formal report with immigration officials, citing Jasmine's rapid relationship shift as evidence of visa manipulation. If true, that report alone could have triggered a quiet inquiry into Jasmine's status. For someone still trying to establish permanent residency, that's not just paperwork. It's a ticking clock. On Instagram, Jasmine was all fire. Bright filters, bold captions, laughing with Matt, thanking fans for real love. But the cracks showed. She avoided live videos. Her replies were short. She deleted a story within minutes when someone commented, "Gino's coming?" One night she posted a quote about loyalty and betrayal, only to take it down within the hour. Fans noticed, but most didn't understand the war quietly building underneath the aesthetics. Matt tried to hold it together. He posted normal stuff, dinners, baby toys, random selfies, but people watching closely could tell he was preparing for something. And then it landed. A knock at the door. A manila envelope. No police this time. Just a signature required and the weight of 12 pages that would change everything. It was a subpoena. Gino's legal team named Matt directly in the financial dispute. Not as a witness, as a party. They accused him of aiding Jasmine in moving assets that, according to Gino's lawsuit, still legally belonged to their marital estate. It wasn't jail, not yet, but it was a public flag on Matt's name. And it put Jasmine directly in the crosshairs, whether she wanted to be there or not. The last thing Matt posted before going silent was a black screen with one line. "I should have stayed out of this." It didn't take long for the media to pick up on the number, 3.7 million. But what that number represented was more than cash. It was payback. In Gino's lawsuit, Jasmine wasn't just accused of emotional manipulation, she was labeled a fraud. He claimed she lied on immigration paperwork, promised marriage only for legal gain, and worse, coordinated with another man to strip him of everything before the ink on their divorce had dried. The documents filed in Florida Circuit Court were ruthless. Gino laid out a timeline that painted Jasmine as someone who entered the marriage with financial intent. He attached screenshots of wire transfers, receipts for cosmetic surgeries, relocation costs, and even ring appraisals. He claimed she owed him $274,000 in cash advances and $1.9 million in joint investment losses. The rest? Emotional damages, reputational harm, and punitive charges tied to what he called public humiliation in the wake of her affair. His words, not ours. Then came Matt's name. Buried halfway through the filing, but highlighted in bold. Third-party collaborator. Gino's legal team alleged that Matt, knowingly or not, became part of a funneling process that moved money from Gino's accounts into temporary holding transfers, sometimes through apps, sometimes through business aliases. They called him a romantic accomplice turned financial agent. Matt's legal team hit back immediately, denying all allegations and calling the lawsuit revenge theater for a failed marriage. But the damage was already done. Public court records don't wait for verdicts. TLC stayed silent, but fans noticed something strange. When the season aired, major chunks of Jasmine and Gino's storyline were chopped. Key scenes from counseling, immigration conversations, and even Jasmine's initial move-out were either heavily edited or never aired. Meanwhile, Jasmine and Matt's love story got extended airtime. More sweet moments, more family bonding, fewer questions. It wasn't subtle, it was surgical. It made people wonder, was TLC protecting its new storyline at the cost of truth? Was Jasmine being framed, or was the show shielding her from backlash while letting Gino spiral publicly? The show had done it before. Edited timelines, shuffled events, blurred context. But this felt different. Viewers were watching a woman being legally destroyed off camera while being softly redeemed on camera. The contrast was brutal. Privately, Jasmine broke. A friend who spoke anonymously said she cried for hours over a printed copy of the lawsuit, unable to understand parts of the legal jargon. "He said I loved him just for money," she reportedly told them. "How can you say that after everything I gave up for him?" She clutched the papers like they were photos of someone who died, reading the same lines again and again, like maybe if she stared long enough, they'd change. They didn't. And then came the leak. Not from Jasmine, not from Matt. From someone who claimed to be part of the financial audit team hired by Gino's attorneys. A private Reddit post was screenshotted and circulated on Twitter in less than an hour. It claimed Matt's name appeared on multiple money transfer logs tied to an LLC registered in Michigan, an LLC Gino said he never opened. The post was deleted, but not before it caught the attention of TLC fan blogs, legal bloggers, and even an entertainment journalist who confirmed that yes, the account did exist. And yes, it had once been linked to an IP address where Matt and Jasmine lived last spring. Whether it was identity theft, a clerical error, or something more intentional, no one could say yet. But what became clear in that moment was this. Matt wasn't just Jasmine's boyfriend anymore. He was officially part of the case, and the question wasn't whether he'd face charges. The question was how much he already knew. Understood. Here's the narration for that scene, expanding what you asked for. In your style, no headings, no labels. The morning air felt too heavy when cameras caught him. Matt Branisteru stepped out of a black SUV in front of the courthouse. Police banged on the door. A second later, he was in handcuffs, flashing lights, reporters shouting, papers rustling, and inside that chaos, Jasmine Pineda was nowhere to be seen. No goodbye, no explanation. Just silence. The allegation: her estranged husband filed a $3.7 million lawsuit, and Matt's name appeared in it. The clip that went viral shows Matt's face calm at first, confused, then shock as the cuffs closed. His eyes flicked around, the crowd pressing in. Nothing about that still looked like fame or streaming cameras. It looked like a trap. Viewers exploded online. Half demanded answers for Matt. They spoke of loyalty. They asked if Gino Palazzolo was abusing the law for revenge. The other half accused Jasmine of playing the victim while hiding behind baby pictures and tearful confessions from 2025's tell-all. Some called it poetic justice. Others felt disgust. The comment section became a battlefield. If you watch his arrest closely, you can almost hear the narrative shift. Matt, once portrayed as Jasmine's savior, morphed instantly into a defendant. The show's love story turned legal nightmare. And what looked like redemption now smelled like risk. I have to wonder, when the cameras turned off, did loyalty matter more than evidence? Or did legality trump everything they built together? Then silence. Jasmine posted nothing. No story, no address change, no cryptic quote, just a vanished profile. That silence spoke louder than any headline. People started speculating. Did she flee? Was she hiding her shame? Or protecting her child? And then new rumors. Matt's lawyer supposedly quietly filed a motion. They hinted at a hidden account linked to Jasmine's name. Not part of the public court filing yet. Sealed for now. If that account exists, it could change everything. Because it wouldn't just tie Matt to the lawsuit, it would tie Jasmine directly to the financial mess that triggered it. The stakes just jumped from custody drama to possible criminal exposure. So ask yourself, how loyal is love when the law knocks on your door? She left everything behind. One stroller, one bag, one baby. Jasmine didn't wait for the headlines. She vanished before they could even write them. Neighbors said they saw her leave around 6 a.m., bundled in a gray hoodie, no makeup, no luggage, just Matilda wrapped to her chest, and a look that could only be described as gone. Not sad, not scared, just gone. No one knew where she went. The rental home sat quiet, dishes still in the sink, baby formula on the counter, a pair of Matt's shoes by the door. Like she planned nothing but couldn't stay one more minute. Her phone went dark that same morning. Her last text to a friend, according to someone close, simply said, "I need time, don't call." Online, it didn't matter. Screenshots, surveillance, and speculative blogs painted her like a fugitive. Hashtags swirled. Comments called her a manipulator. Some said she was running because she was guilty. Others said she was running because no one ever gave her a safe place to land. The truth? Probably somewhere in between. Because postpartum Jasmine wasn't the Jasmine we saw on TV. She was thinner, quieter, fragile in a way even she didn't expect. A woman who'd given birth, been accused, been abandoned, and then watched the man who held her hand during delivery get cuffed in front of the world. This wasn't strategy, this was survival. Jasmine once said in a confessional that she doesn't trust easily, that when she does, and it breaks, she shuts down entirely. Now fans were seeing that shutdown happen in real time, but this time there was a baby involved. Not just her heart, not just her name, a little girl who didn't ask for fame, lawsuits, or cameras. And maybe that's why she left. Not to run from blame, but to shield her child from everything she didn't know how to fix. A leak surfaced the next day. Not a photo, not a video. A voice note. It came from someone claiming to work in Matt's legal team, and it was short. Barely 13 seconds. But you could hear the crack in his voice when he said her name. Jazz, I don't blame you. I don't. I just hope you're safe. And I'm sorry I dragged you into my mess. I should have seen this coming. And then, static. End of message. No follow-up, no confirmation. But the clip went viral within hours. Some believed it. Some said it was AI. But those who had watched Matt closely knew. That voice, that break, it was real. And it didn't sound like a man angry at betrayal. It sounded like a man still in love, still in shock, still blaming himself for everything that went wrong. But if Jasmine heard it, she never responded. Not publicly, not privately. And if she did cry, no one saw it. Not this time. Matt's mother looked like she hadn't slept in days when reporters caught her outside her Michigan home. Hair tied back, voice shaking, and still defending her son through tears. I don't believe he did anything criminal, she said, eyes darting away from the cameras. I believe he got too involved in something he didn't understand. But Matt, he's not a thief. He's not that man. Her daughter, Matt's sister, wasn't as calm. She fired back at trolls online accusing their family of being part of Jasmine's so-called escape. My brother fell for a woman who needed help. That's not a crime, she wrote on Facebook. This whole show used them and then left them to burn when it got ugly. Behind the scenes, Jasmine's relatives in Panama had a different view. They weren't giving interviews, but someone close to her aunt told a Spanish-language podcast that her family was begging her to come home. They're scared, not just for the legal fallout, but for Jasmine's mental health. She hasn't called, one source said. Not even her own mother. That's not like Jasmine. She doesn't hide unless she's breaking inside. It's hard to blame them for panicking. This isn't a tabloid headline to them. This is their daughter, their niece, their sister, alone in a foreign country with a newborn, no public income, and two men either suing her, dragging her into court, or sending her love letters from jail. No one knows where Jasmine is, but the people who know her best say she's not doing okay. And TLC, they're not saying a word, but they're not exactly staying quiet either. Days after Matt's arrest, the network dropped a sneak peek for the next tell-all. The trailer was cold, clean, perfectly edited. Jasmine in a dim hotel hallway, makeup smeared, holding Matilda, and sobbing into her hands. No words, no explanation, just one tagline across the screen. She has nothing left to lose. Nothing left to lose. A choice line. A line that sells. A line that hits. But also, a line that shows exactly how much TLC is willing to squeeze out of someone's breakdown. Jasmine's collapse isn't just footage to them. It's profit. It's ratings. It's content. They pushed her love triangle for 3 seasons. They filmed her labor. They teased her immigration process like a game show. And when it all collapsed, they sent a camera crew instead of help. This isn't new. But with Jasmine, it feels colder, like they already decided what role she'd play. The villain, the runaway, the one who broke 2 men. It's why viewers are so divided. Some say she's the most manipulative cast member since Larissa. Others say she's the most abused. I say she's both trapped and exploited, because drama is currency. And on TLC, pain equals profit. Producers know when to zoom in, when to cut audio, when to let silence speak louder than screams. And in that hotel clip, it's not the tears that broke viewers. It was the sound of Matilda's tiny cry in the background. 1 second, that's all it took. 1 second of real motherhood. No filter, no set, no script. It's the most human Jasmine has ever looked on screen. Not yelling, not defending, not posing, just breaking. And that's when the screen cut to black. Coming soon. Part 1 of the tell-all. No date, no answers, just Jasmine crying in a hallway while viewers keep asking who's still protecting her and who already gave up. The mood turned colder when a single sentence hit the fan forums. Gino reported Jasmine to immigration. No emoji, no sarcasm, just a quiet post from someone claiming to have ties to a local ICE office in Michigan. It spread like wildfire. First dismissed, then debated, and finally echoed by people who'd been tracking Gino's moves for months. The man who once cried at Jasmine's wedding dress was now accused of trying to have her deported. Nobody wanted to believe it at first. Even Gino's biggest critics thought it was too far, too cruel, too final. But it didn't stay a rumor for long. A voice message from Jasmine leaked online, sent to Matt's cousin days after Matt's arrest. In it, she sounded broken, whispering, "Gino told me he already went to immigration. He said it's done. He wants me gone." That one clip flipped everything. What was once a messy breakup now became a legal minefield. Jasmine wasn't just in trouble with the courts, she might be in trouble with the U.S. government. And if Gino filed that report with USCIS and backed it with documentation from his lawsuit, she wouldn't need to wait for a ruling. They could start proceedings without warning. Fans scrambled to understand what this meant. Could she really be deported? She'd been married. She had a child. She'd filmed 3 seasons with TLC. Wasn't she protected? The truth hit harder than any opinion piece. On a K-1 visa turned green card marriage, if the union ends before a certain time, or if fraud is proven, yes, deportation is very real. Add a civil lawsuit accusing financial deceit, and the picture darkens. The U.S. doesn't need a conviction to launch a review. They just need credible concern. And if Jasmine's green card is still conditional, which many suspect it is based on her timelines, Gino's report could have serious consequences. Immigration law isn't emotional. It doesn't care if Gino's hurt. It only looks at documents, timelines, and intent. And Gino, armed with pages of bank records, emails, and contract dates, claims that Jasmine misrepresented her intentions from the start, that she never intended to stay married, that she used the marriage to get in, then used his money to move on. Supporters say it's a stretch, that Gino consented to every part of the process, that Jasmine moved out only after months of verbal fights and counseling that failed, that the so-called fraud accusation is Gino's retaliation because he lost control. But others aren't so sure, especially when the paperwork lines up too neatly. Jasmine moved in with Matt 2 weeks before her first conditional renewal interview. The same month Gino stopped receiving his 2-factor banking alerts. What's worse is the silence from Jasmine's legal team. No denial, no statement. No confirmation either. That void is dangerous, because when you don't tell your side, the loudest version becomes the truth. And then came the coldest cut of all. A legal blogger shared that a well-placed source confirmed Gino met with federal agents 3 weeks before the arrest. Not in court, not in front of cameras, but privately. The meeting allegedly lasted 42 minutes and included a file folder labeled with Jasmine's full name and A number, a unique immigration ID given to all non-citizens in the system. The folder alone doesn't confirm action, but it confirms intention. Gino didn't just want closure, he wanted her gone. If Gino's report is true, Jasmine could lose everything overnight. Her home, her work permit, her right to stay with her daughter. Because even though Matilda is a U.S. citizen by birth, Jasmine isn't, and while it's rare to deport a mother with a newborn, it's not impossible, especially if there's a trail of fraud claims stacked behind her name. Fans are split. Some say Jasmine should have seen it coming. Others say Gino crossed a line no partner should ever cross. But here's what no one's saying out loud. If this gets real, if deportation starts, there's no more TLC plot twist. There's just one woman, one baby, and a plane ticket back to a country she hasn't lived in for 2 years. And if that sounds harsh, remember this. Off camera, no one holds a boom mic when the doorbell rings at 5 a.m. with a badge. No one edits out the crying. no one softens the fear. Because behind the drama, behind the subtitles, behind the ratings, is a woman who might be waking up every morning wondering if today's the day she gets taken away. And what nobody saw coming, Gino may have already helped them draw the map. The studio lights are already rigged. The backdrop's been rebuilt. And TLC just confirmed what fans feared and producers secretly prayed for. Jasmine and Matt will appear together at the tell-all, not separately. Together, the same couple who vanished from public life after a financial scandal, a public arrest, and an alleged deportation threat, will now walk into a staged reunion that promises answers, but always delivers something messier. Nobody knows if Jasmine will say anything, or if Matt's lawyers will let him speak at all. But TLC doesn't need them to talk. They just need them to sit, look at each other, react, let silence do the work. Let tears or a well-timed blink build the story for them. In that studio, you don't need a full sentence to burn the internet down. One look is enough. Producers are already leaking breadcrumbs. The phrase, most shocking reunion yet, has been used 4 times in press emails. There's talk of chairs being moved mid-segment. That never happens. Unless someone walks out, or breaks down, or both. And let's be honest, Jasmine has never handled confrontation with a whisper. What's different this time is the weight, the kind of weight you don't scream through. Jasmine's walking in as a mother, as a woman under a federal spotlight, and as someone who hasn't posted a single story or update since Matt's arrest. That silence is no longer strategic. It's survival. She's walking onto that stage carrying months of suspicion and zero closure. And Matt, he's out on bail, but barely. His team hasn't denied involvement in the alleged financial transfers. They've only challenged the intent, meaning even if Matt didn't knowingly launder funds, his name is still in the filings. The tell-all will be his first public moment since the cuffs clicked, and the room will be watching to see if he flinches, stumbles, or folds. Other cast members are already filming their confessionals. There's talk that Yara is nervous to sit next to Jasmine, that Jovi won't speak unless prompted, that Darcy has demanded a separate green room. These are seasoned reality vets. If they're asking for distance, it's not about personality clashes, it's about fallout. Nobody wants to be too close when the fire starts, because this tell-all won't be about who said what. It'll be about what Jasmine and Matt don't say, the details they dodge, the questions they breathe through. TLC won't push for truth, they'll push for chaos. The slow kind, the kind that simmers, leaves things unanswered, then cuts to commercial. And yet, viewers won't look away. They never do. Why? Because unresolved pain is addictive. It keeps people watching, keeps them guessing. That's the currency of modern reality TV. We don't want closure. We want the moment before closure. The standoff, the whisper, the breath before the slap, whether it lands or not. That's why TLC didn't cut Jasmine from the season. That's why they extended Matt's airtime even after the lawsuit surfaced. Because a happy ending is boring. But a love story stuck in legal purgatory? That's content. The kind that trends. The kind that makes you pause mid-scroll and mutter, "No way she's still going back to him." People forget. These tell-alls are filmed weeks before they air, meaning by the time we see Jasmine's face on that couch, she might already be somewhere else entirely. A new city, a different country, a courtroom, a holding cell. We're not watching reality, we're watching aftermath packaged as present. And in that tension, TLC thrives. They know how to edit silence into betrayal, how to clip a breath and turn it into doubt. Don't expect legal updates from the host. Expect reactions. Half smiles, shaky hands, a sudden walk-off when someone dares to say, "Did you ever love either of them?" I've said this before on TLC Drama Live, and I'll say it again. You can't script heartbreak, but you can sell it. And if Jasmine cries, if Matt tries to defend her, if someone off stage mutters, "She lied to all of us," it won't matter what's true. It'll matter what trends. And this week, what's trending is a leaked message, unverified but spreading like wildfire, reportedly from an internal group chat tied to production. A single line, supposedly written during the final block of filming, "One arrest wasn't enough." No context, no name, no emoji, but enough to suggest that producers knew this story wasn't over. The tell-all airs in 2 weeks. Until then, Jasmine remains silent. Matt hasn't spoken publicly. Gino is said to be filming a separate sit-down. And the world is refreshing their feeds, waiting for one of them to crack. The terms were strict: no interviews, no travel, no contact with any parties involved in the lawsuit. But within 48 hours of his bail, Matt Branisteru disappeared for 5. His attorney claimed he was meeting with his therapist. His phone showed airplane mode, but a blurry surveillance still leaked 3 days later told a different story. A parking garage in Tampa, a hooded man stepping into the back seat of a black SUV. Jasmine was already inside. The meeting was off the grid. No TLC cameras, no lawyers, no producers, no script. It was the first time they'd seen each other since Matt's arrest, and no one knew what was said, except that when they left, they weren't holding hands. They weren't even looking at each other. Jasmine got out first. She didn't run, but she didn't wait either. Some say it was a goodbye. Some say it was strategy, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Hours later, Matt's legal team filed a new motion asking for reduced restrictions in exchange for limited cooperation. In legal language, that means one thing: he was ready to talk. And Jasmine, she didn't deny the meeting. When a reporter asked if she'd seen Matt, she stared straight ahead and said, "I see a lot of ghosts lately." It's hard to understand that kind of love, or that kind of pain. They weren't just two people in a relationship. They were trauma-bonded, strung together by months of emotional minefields, public pressure, postpartum stress, and now legal crossfire. Jasmine gave birth with Matt by her side. Matt got arrested while defending her name. And now both of them were drowning in a story they barely controlled. This wasn't romance anymore. It was survival with layers of guilt. Jasmine had watched 2 men fall apart in her orbit. One accused her of betrayal, the other begged her to stay, and all while raising a child, hiding from tabloids, and reading lawsuit language written in a country she still didn't fully call home. And Matt? He wasn't blameless. If the bank transfers are real, if the digital footprints trace back to him, he knew something. Maybe not all of it, but enough to question whether he was ever just a bystander. That's what guilt does. It turns silence into suspicion. And when you're sitting in a holding cell thinking about every choice you made, your loyalty starts to rot into fear. That's why the meeting changed everything. Jasmine walked in still protecting Matt. She walked out unsure, not angry, not hurt, just different. The kind of different that comes after someone tells you they kept a secret they swore didn't exist. This meeting changes everything they thought they knew about each other. Some insiders claim Matt told Jasmine he was going to take a deal, that the prosecutors had too much, that the LLCs were traceable, that someone, maybe a business associate of Gino's, had already flipped, and that if he didn't speak first, he'd go down harder. He asked her to understand. Jasmine didn't answer. She cried, but she didn't stop him. There's one thing Jasmine has always been consistent about. She reacts when she feels cornered. Not loud, not fast, but completely. She disappears. She ghosts. She resets. And that's exactly what she did. For 2 days, no posts. Then suddenly she filed a formal request to speak with her own legal team. The filing was short, 1 paragraph, but what it signaled was massive. Jasmine wanted to testify, not against Matt, not against Gino, not yet anyway, but to tell her side, on record, under oath. Nobody knows where her story will land. If she'll confess to financial involvement, if she'll claim ignorance, if she'll implicate Matt or try to protect him one last time. But she's done hiding. That much is clear, and whatever guilt she once carried has turned into something sharper, something with purpose, because there's one more sealed subpoena circulating. And according to court watchers, it was delivered to a private address tied to a TLC property used during filming. No names yet, but insiders say Jasmine's testimony could point the spotlight somewhere no one expected. The real question now isn't whether Jasmine will talk. It's who she's getting ready to take down. It came at midnight, with no warning. A quiet post on Jasmine's official page, the first in weeks. No baby filters, no bikini shots, no music, just black text on a white background. And the caption, "I can't undo the past, but I'm still here." No emojis, no tags, no comments allowed. The message was long, honest. And for the first time since this storm began, Jasmine sounded like someone who wasn't trying to convince anyone of anything. She opened with gratitude, thanking those who checked in, those who didn't judge, and those who knew when to stop asking questions. She said she had spent the last month learning how to breathe again, not for fame, not for forgiveness, but for her daughter. She didn't mention Gino by name. She didn't mention Matt either. But the references were clear. "Some people hurt you and then act like you were the weapon," she wrote. "Some people swear they'll protect you, but only until it costs them something." That line hit hard, because even now, no one fully knows who she meant. She admitted to mistakes, to being reckless with emotions, to trusting too quickly, to ignoring red flags because survival looked like love when you've been drowning for years. She didn't ask for sympathy. She didn't offer excuses. But she did ask for space. "I am not who they edited," she wrote. "I am not who they accused. I am a mother trying not to break where my daughter can see me." There were no behind-the-scenes photos, no teasers, just a final sentence. "I'll speak where it counts." People cried, people doubted, people saved the post before it got deleted. But this time, Jasmine didn't flinch. She didn't post and delete. She didn't go live and spiral. She hit send and logged out. That was it. In the weeks that followed, things calmed publicly. Matt hasn't been rearrested, but his case is pending. Gino hasn't posted since the lawsuit went public. TLC aired the first part of the tell-all, but noticeably cut most of Jasmine's scenes, replacing them with voiceovers and cast reactions. Ratings dropped slightly. Comments didn't. Viewers wanted chaos, but what they got was a silence that felt heavier than any fight. Because love didn't win. The law didn't win. Fame didn't save anyone. It just magnified the pain. And when the storyline got too real, too ugly, too legally dangerous, the producers did what they always do: cut it down, package it clean, and sell the drama without the consequences. Jasmine isn't the first woman to break under the weight of the lens, and she won't be the last. TLC has built an empire on people who are falling apart, as long as they're still willing to smile through the edits. The network doesn't care about truth. They care about tension, tears, timelines. They'll never show the 3 a.m. breakdown, the missed court dates, the lawyer fees. They'll show the slap, not the silence, the insult, not the apology, and if it sounds harsh, it's because it is. I've been following these stories for years here on TLC Drama Live, and it never gets easier watching the same cycle repeat. Love, betrayal, destruction, silence. Then the next couple, the next face, the next fall. But Jasmine's story isn't over. Not yet. Because as of today, a new legal twist is already on the horizon. A subpoena issued last Friday is tied to someone no one saw coming, not a cast member, not an ex. A mystery witness who allegedly worked inside Gino's financial circle. Someone who may have seen the money move. Someone who may know more than both Jasmine and Matt combined. That's the next chapter, and it's coming fast. Because when everything breaks, love, trust, contracts, what's left behind isn't always justice. Sometimes it's just who has the better story. And next time on TLC Drama Live, we dig into the one name producers didn't want leaked. The mystery witness Gino never expected.